The 2001 Kentucky State Quarter. Now, most people would see 25 cents, and they wouldn't be wrong. But what if I told you that a tiny, nearly invisible detail on this very common coin could make it worth hundreds, or in a few jaw-dropping cases, even thousands of dollars? Stick with me because I'm about to show you exactly what to look for. We're going to break down the specific errors that separate a regular quarter from a serious collector's piece. So, whatever you do, don't spend that quarter until you've watched this. Before we get into the treasure hunt, let's talk a little about the coin itself. It might be a 2001 Rhode Island State Quarter, one of the hundreds of millions that were made. But before you even think about trading it for a gumball, you need to know that a tiny, nearly invisible detail on this specific coin could make it worth hundreds, or even over 1,000 times its face value. Most people will never spot the difference, but today I'm going to show you exactly what to look for. This is the treasure hunt you can start right now. First, a little backstory. The 50 State Quarters program, which ran from 1999 to 2008, was a huge deal, not just in the coin world, but for everybody. Suddenly, people were actually looking at their change again, eager to find the newest state design. In 2001, 5 new quarters were released, and the third one out of the gate was for Rhode Island. It was the 13th coin in the series, honoring the 13th state to join the Union. Now, when I say this coin is common, I mean incredibly asterisk common. The Philadelphia Mint, marked with a P, struck over 423 million of them. The Denver Mint, with a D, made even more, over 447 million. With nearly 870 million of these coins flooding into circulation, they became a familiar sight almost overnight. You've probably held dozens of them without giving it a second thought. The design itself is a celebration of Rhode Island's nickname, the Ocean State. On the back, you'll see a beautiful vintage sailboat gliding through Narragansett Bay, with the iconic Pell Bridge stretching across the background. This wasn't some random drawing, the public chose it, winning a statewide vote with 57% of the tally. It's a design meant to capture a sense of maritime history and pride. But because there are just so many of them, most of these quarters, especially the ones that have been banging around in cash registers for over 2 decades, are worth exactly 25 cents. And that's the problem. Their commonness is like a perfect camouflage. It hides the fact that a very small, very special group of these quarters were born different. They carry small mistakes from the minting process, little errors and quirks that set them apart from the crowd. Those are the coins that collectors are willing to pay a massive premium for, and that's the secret we're getting into today. All right, grab a magnifying glass if you have one, because this is where the real hunt begins. I'm going to walk you through a step-by-step guide to figuring out if your 2001 Rhode Island Quarter is a hidden gem. First up, the absolute basics, the mint mark. Flip the quarter over to the front, the side with George Washington's head. Look on the right side, right under "In God We Trust." You should see a tiny letter. It'll be a P for the Philadelphia Mint, a D for the Denver Mint, or S for the San Francisco Mint. The P and D coins are the ones you'll find in circulation. This mint mark coins are special proof coins made for collectors and weren't meant to be spent. We'll touch on those later, but our main focus is on the P and D coins you can actually find. Second, check the coin's condition. In coin collecting, condition is everything. A coin that looks like it just rolled off the factory floor with a bright shine and no scratches is called uncirculated or mint state. Think about it. How many quarters from 2001 have you seen that look brand new? Almost none. Most are dull and scuffed up. A standard circulated Rhode Island quarter is worth 25 cents. But if you find one in beautiful uncirculated condition, say, a grade of MS65, its value can jump to around $5 or more. If you're lucky enough to find a near-perfect one-graded MS67, the value could be anywhere from $20 to $45, just because they are so hard to find in that pristine state. Now for the real heart of the hunt, the errors. This is where the values can go through the roof. Minting coins is a high-speed industrial process, and sometimes things go haywire. These mistakes create rare and valuable varieties that collectors go crazy for. One of the most sought-after errors is the doubled die. This happens when the master stamp or die used to strike the coin has a doubled image. On the 2001 D Rhode Island Quarter, a known variety shows doubling in Washington's hair, right near his ear. It can look like a faint extra line or a slight bulge. It's subtle, but finding one could get you anywhere from $5 to $20, sometimes more. Next, look for die cracks. The dies can develop tiny cracks from the massive pressure of striking millions of coins. When that happens, a small raised line appears on the coin. On the Rhode Island Quarter, these have been spotted all over. Check around the rim, especially on the back. Some have a crack running from the rim through the water to the base of the bridge. You can also find them on the sailboat or in the letters. While small die cracks might only add a few bucks, a big, dramatic one can be worth much more to a specialist, sometimes fetching $10 to $50. Another cool one is the struck-through error. This is when a small foreign object like a bit of grease, a tiny metal filing, or even a thread gets between the die and the coin during the strike. It blocks the design from being fully pressed into that spot. On this quarter, they often show up as smooth spots or filled in letters like on Ocean State. The value here really depends on how interesting it looks. A tiny one might not be worth much, but a large, obvious one can be quite valuable. The ultimate jackpot for this quarter is the missing clad layer. Quarters are made of a copper core sandwiched between two nickel layers. In very rare cases, one of those nickel layers is missing before the coin is struck, which exposes the bright red copper core on one side. A 2001p Rhode Island quarter missing its clad layer has sold for hundreds of dollars. If the missing layer is on the reverse, showing that beautiful sailboat against a copper background, collectors tend to desire it even more. Finding one of these is like finding a needle in a national haystack, and it's a coin that could easily be worth over $400. So you've checked your change and think you've got something special. Let's talk realistic numbers. It's easy to get carried away by the hype. While the title says 1000x its value, which is over $250, those prices are for the absolute best of the best examples. For the vast majority of 2001 Rhode Island quarters, the value is 25 cents. If you find one that looks brand new in uncirculated condition, you might get a small premium, maybe $1 to $5. A professionally graded MS-65 could bring $5 to $25. The Mint Mark proof coins are a different ballgame. They were made for collectors, with the San Francisco Mint producing over 3 million clad proofs and just under 900,000 silver proofs. The 90% silver proofs are valuable for their silver content alone, but a high-grade one can be worth $15 to $20 or more. Now for those errors. A minor die crack or a small struck-through error might sell for $10 to $50, depending on how cool it looks. An off-center strike could be worth anywhere from $20 to over $100. The rare doubled die varieties can also fetch a nice premium. The major errors, like a coin missing its clad layer, are the ones that can get into the hundreds, like the one that sold for $400. And hey, if a new, totally unique error were discovered, who knows how high the price could go at auction. Let's say you're staring at a quarter right now and you see something, a die crack, a weird smooth spot, maybe even a flash of copper. What's your next move? First, and this is the golden rule, *, do not clean the coin. I repeat, do not clean it. Rubbing, polishing, or using any chemical will instantly wreck its collector value. The 2001 Rhode Island quarter is the perfect example of a treasure hidden in plain sight. Nearly 870 million were made, and for most people they're just 25 cents. But now you know the secrets. You know to check the mint mark, to appreciate a coin in pristine condition, and to hunt for those sneaky but valuable. The adventure of coin collecting isn't just about finding something worth a ton of money. It's about the thrill of the hunt. It's about holding a piece of history in your hand and knowing its story. So go on, check your pockets, your car, that old piggy bank. The next time a 2001 Rhode Island quarter passes through your hands, take an extra second to really * look at it. You never know what you might find. Now I want to hear from you. Go check your change and come back to the comments to let me know if you find any 2001 Rhode Island quarters. And if you do find an error, share it with our community. Happy hunting. The 2001 Kentucky quarter is part of the legendary 50-state quarters program. This was a huge deal for the US Mint, running from 1999 to 2008, and it got millions of ordinary people excited about coin collecting. Kentucky's quarter was the 15th in the series, released on October 15, 2001. The design on the back is pure Kentucky. You've got a beautiful thoroughbred racehorse behind a fence, a clear nod to the state's world-famous horse racing heritage and the Kentucky Derby. That stately mansion in the background, that's Federal Hill. It's a historic home in Bardstown that inspired Stephen Foster to write My Old Kentucky Home, the official state song. The public sent in nearly 1,800 design ideas, and this one was chosen to represent the bluegrass state. The front, or obverse, has that familiar portrait of George Washington that we see on all our quarters. So how do you figure out if your quarter is special? First, you have to know that the US Mint made a * ton of these. The Philadelphia Mint with its P mint mark struck over 353 million. The Denver Mint, marked with a D, made even more, over 370 million. With more than 723 million of them put into circulation, it's no wonder most are just worth 25 cents. But here, where it gets exciting. A coin's value can absolutely skyrocket based on two key things: its condition and any minting errors. Let's talk condition, or what collectors call gradding. A coin that's been jangling in pockets and rattling around in cup holders is circulated. It's going to have scratches and wear, making it almost always worth just face value. The real money starts with uncirculated or mint state coins. These look like they just rolled off the minting press. Gradding services use a number scale from 1 to 70 to rate them. For a 2001 Kentucky quarter, even a basic uncirculated one might only be worth $1 or $2. But get into the high grades, like an MS-67 or MS-68, and the value for its near-flawless condition can jump to between $15 and $70. In the absolute highest, most perfect grades, like MS-69, a 2001 P Kentucky quarter has sold for as much as $2,585 at auction, due to its incredible rarity at that level of perfection. Okay, now for the part you've been waiting for, the errors. This is how you can find real value, even in a coin you got back as change. Coin minting is a heavy-duty industrial process, and sometimes things go wrong. These mistakes create rare varieties that collectors are hunting for. You'll want a magnifying glass to see these. The dies that stamp coins are under immense pressure and can crack. When they do, they leave a raised, squiggly line on the coin. On the Kentucky quarter, a famous version of this is the spitting horse error. It's a tiny die crack right at the horse's mouth that looks like it's spitting. It's a small detail, but a clear spitting horse error can make your quarter worth over $100. This is one of the most famous error types. It happens when the die is made with a doubled image, creating a shadow or slightly offset second image on the coin's letters. Check the phrases E pluribus unum, or In God We Trust. A dramatic doubled die is rare, but it can be worth hundreds, sometimes even thousands of dollars. This one is pretty easy to spot. The coin wasn't lined up correctly when it was struck, so part of the design is missing, leaving a blank, unstruck area. A coin that's just a little off-center, maybe 10%, might fetch a small premium. But find one that's 20% to 50% off-center while still showing the full date and mint mark, and it could be worth several $100s. This happens when something gets in the way during the strike: a piece of cloth, a metal filing, or just some grease. The object gets pressed into the coin, leaving an impression or blocking details. One 2001 Kentucky quarter with a grease strike-through that hid part of In God We Trust sold for $51. An even crazier example, where the object was actually stuck to the coin, sold for $1,020. These are the lottery tickets of coin collecting. A wrong planchet error is when a quarter is struck on a blank meant for a different coin, like a dime. Even more incredible, there is at least one known example of a Sacagawea dollar design struck on a Kentucky state quarter. It sold at auction for an amazing $5,750. Finding an error this big is a once-in-a-lifetime discovery for a collector. There are two kinds, a standard clad proof and a silver proof. The silver proof is the one you really want. It's made of 90% silver, so it has value just for its metal content. You can spot it by the S mint mark and a solid silver-looking edge, which won't have the copper stripe you see on regular quarters. Depending on condition, these silver proofs can be worth $10 to $20, with perfectly graded examples fetching over $30. So what's the bottom line? While most of the 723 million Kentucky quarters are just worth 25 cents, there's a real chance a treasure could be hiding in your change. It all comes down to paying attention to the details. It just goes to show you, it's always worth checking your coins. You never know when a common quarter might be an uncommon find.